2024 will be the year of the next Great Depression, while analysts are already saying that 2023 is going through a silent depression. Well, I'm not sure if it's silent when you go grocery shopping in Walmart, Target, Costco, or any of these other retailers that have been forced to jack up their prices due to inflation. And at the end of it all, who's really had to suffer? We, the people. But it's not like things are that bad, right? I mean, the White House is painting all of this as if things are actually getting better, that 2024 is actually going to be amazing, and that Americans are finally going to be able to recover financially. That and the COLA 2024 increase for Social Security will be more than enough, and that most of our worries are over. But do any of you guys believe that?
A term called silent depression. Simply put, our economy is so bad with high gas, food, and rent prices that we're struggling more as Americans today than they did during the Great Depression. High unemployment, no money for food. The 1930s were a devastating time in history, but now some say times today are even worse.
When you compare the Great Depression to today, this is going to absolutely blow your mind.
The video compares life in 1930 to 2023.
The car was 46% of the salary. The car today is 85% of the salary.
It has millions of views and definitely makes you think we have it a lot worse today than they did back then.
The rent was 16% of the average salary. It is now 42% of the average salary.
But is this really true?
I would disagree with that.
Charlie Dougherty is an economist with Wells Fargo, and while he does agree times are tough, he says it's not all gloom and doom. He believes gas prices will continue to drop next year, food prices will stabilize, and rents won't rise nearly as fast as they have been. His one area of concern is people losing their jobs.
As economic growth slows and potentially contracts, that will likely bring a somewhat higher rate of unemployment.
Now, I'm not sure if there's any kind of conflict of interest having a guy from one of the biggest banks here in the country tell us that we're not going through a depression, but let me ask you guys. And of course, I know that not a lot of us were actually here for it, but do you feel like we're going through a silent depression? That high unemployment with consumer demand falling? Comment 1 if you think that we're going through really tough times and it can be compared to the 30s. And comment 2 if you feel as if things are starting to feel lighter in terms of the economic pressures. And while you guys are thinking about that, please take a second and hit the like button for the video. Really appreciate that. And consider subscribing to the channel. That way you can stay informed on most everything that you need to know about. Appreciate it, guys. All right, so get back on track here. So we talked about unemployment, right? And within these past few years, we've seen countless jobs lost, not just through the health crisis, but also through companies trying to make ends meet. Now, what's worrying is that workers are also deciding to leave their jobs early. So this new research study has just come out and saying that 39% of employees who have been with a company for less than 6 months are planning to leave within the next 12 months. Now, of course, the reasoning for it is varied, but it pretty much all boils down to what a company says it will do for their employees compared to what they're actually doing. It could be something as simple as like a personal problem with a manager, or maybe a company's culture when it comes to hybrid work, working from home, remote work, or even something as crucial as one's flexibility with working hours. Now, this relies heavily on employees who thought that moving jobs would actually take them to greener pastures. You know what I mean? But the reality is that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, which now forces a lot of these same workers to kind of backpedal and try to get back to their former employers. It's not always bad news for these people though, especially if their previous position was an important one that they can't easily fill. This could give them leverage in asking for even better compensation, or maybe even have them rise up much more quickly in terms of promotions. But again, it's not always good for everyone. It's also not good for almost 70% of Americans right now that are living paycheck to paycheck.
More Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Elizabeth Schulze joins us with the economic reality check right before the holidays. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Hey, good morning, Michael. The U.S. economy is defying expectations, but many households are still gloomy about their personal finances. A new survey from Lending Club finds that 60% of Americans say they're living paycheck to paycheck. Many are blaming the stubbornly high prices when you go to the grocery store, or for housing and for rent.
I mean, it's kind of funny to think that, you know, we hear all this optimism from the White House and all these different news outlets, but then the numbers like these appear and, well, then they have nothing to say about it. It's really making me think that they're purposely avoiding these numbers. They're trying not to look at it. But, you know, when you see Americans breaking down and telling us that things are not okay, that they're just waiting to die, then you start finding more people who are on the exact same boat. Watch this clip and you guys tell me if you can relate.
I feel like My husband and I are doing everything right. We both have good jobs. I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I work full-time. He works full-time. We just got paid this past Friday, right? We paid the mortgage, bought some groceries, put some gas in the car. And guys, it is Tuesday, and we have like $200 or $300 to last us until next Friday.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking. We had a chance to interview her this morning, and she said a little bit more about her situation. Let's take a listen.
I just needed to vent in the moment. I needed to vent to my phone and just, I guess, get the words out of my brain with all the stress that I was feeling. I'm just glad that my voice was unintentionally, empowering to people to speak out and say, me too, and, share that we're all in the same situation with the economy and the price of groceries and gas and just the struggle of middle-class America.
Alicia, she didn't want to get into politics. She said specifically, this is not political. Yeah. But I have to go back to that original TikTok video. She said 3 things. She paid the mortgage, housing market. She paid for food, price of groceries, inflation, and she paid for fuel, and they didn't have any money left.
Well, what do you guys think? And of course, this is not political at all. If times are tough, it's going to affect you no matter what party you support, right? Now, I just want to talk about something that may happen very soon to many Americans, something that none of us want. But in New York, news is coming that migrants are going door to door in neighborhoods close to the controversial tent shelter at Floyd Bennett Park to ask for cash, food, and even clothing.
I don't feel safe. I don't know. I'm paying a lot of taxes from my salary, and I'm completely transparent to IRS and everything. So I think it's enough what we're already paying, for them to support if we call ourselves a sanctuary city.
Have you seen anything like this happening in your neighborhood before?
No, haven't seen. No.
Do you have any message for President Biden and Mayor Adams?
Secure the border. That's the only message. Secure the border. Start working with the House and everybody. Republicans and Democrats have to unite on this issue, not separate. That's a shame.
Now, we're not going to focus on the people that are doing this. Instead, let's look at what they're doing. Things are becoming so desperate for them in New York that besides what the local government is actually giving them, they're being forced to ask locals for even more help. Now, I understand that this is somehow a political topic, but how long do you think that this is going to take until we actually see struggling Americans doing the exact same thing? Will we see it in 2024? Or should we believe the optimism from the White House that things are now looking up? I'm interested to hear you guys' perspective, so do share them down in the comments down below. And before I go, just want to thank you guys for your time. Keep safe, and I'll see you on the next one.